Hi, so let's talk about sales with all value in matrix. So I talked about this on the previous video. So if you didn't watch it, and you can actually just visit my another video and then to see what is this question talking about. And that solution is actually the not the optimal one. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to actually increase your space and time complexity. So in this question, you still need a row array for Boolean array, and then columns Boolean array, and then you need to store the true and false for sure, right, in the array. Then how do you actually store what's inside the rows array and the Boolean and column array? So you have the indices, right? Indices actually represent what row, what column you should actually increment, right? So at first 0, 0, 0, 0, this is actually even number. So when I initiate row and column, it's actually representing 0, which is false. So if I increment, I will just change to true. Then if I increment again on the same row, same column, that should be false. And how do you actually notice when you increment again and if that one is already true, how do you actually change to false? If you are good at big bit manipulation, this is actually XOR representation. So I would say if I traverse the indices, I'm going to say in array X and then indices. So using a for loop to traverse, right? So I would say rows X 0, and if that is true, I would say true. If that is false, okay, so if that is already true, I would say false. If that is true, if that is false, I would say true, right? So the actual representation is actually shift and then 6 and then equal sign and then true. So for each in array X, you just XOR the previous one. The XOR the Boolean array, and same as the columns x1, that would be the XOR and then true. And you can actually count the number of the odd number in the row and then in the column, right? So at the end, when you're using the for loop to traverse for every single row and column, right? Then you can actually just return. What do you actually need to return? You should return the number of the total number of the column minus the number of odd number in the column. So I'm gonna say count column, and all over you need to times the count row. So count column that represent the odd number in the column. Count row represent the odd number in the row. So how do you actually get a count column and count row? So I would say count column actually equal to, sorry, it's not equal, it's actually plus equal. If plus equal, if that row is true, right? If that row is true. So I will have a row array at x0. If that is true, that would say +1, else -1, and the same as the count column. And I'm not going to, okay, sorry, I should just type it so you'll see the result. So this is actually how you get it, because if that is true, which means that is odd number. If that is false, you don't actually care about it, but you need to decrement by 1 because odd number is actually exclusive. And we are not done for the return value. We take care of the total number plus total number minus the odd number count, and then times the total number, times the odd number of the row. You need to plus total number of row minus the count row times the count column. So just do the math. You can actually get the exact solution. It's actually like you use the total number of column or row, right? You subtract. If you want to subtract the column, right, then you will get you need to times the row to get the total number of a row for let columns. For let rows. I'm I'm gonna code it and see if you can follow. This is really hard to notice the solution, but when you actually get it, it's actually pretty beneficial. So I'm gonna say boolean rows and new boolean and boolean columns is actually boolean and sorry what I'm typing. So I would say I will initialize the count row to 0, count column to 0, and traverse the indices. So I'm gonna say index index I, all right, index I, and for rows that I is 0. If that is true, XOR true. I didn't have a semicolon right there. I1 XOR true. So how do I actually count row? How do I actually add it? If let row, so if rows at I is 0, if that is true, then I will just +1. Sorry, +1, else -1. And send idea for the count column, the number for all number in the columns for counts I1. If that is true, 1 + 1, else -1. So when you return the total number of column number minus the count column times the count row plus the total number of rows and minus count row times count column. All right. I hope I didn't make a typo, but let's see if I have any error or not. Oh, I do. So what is this? Okay, I have the rows. And yeah, here we go. So let's talk about time and space. And for time and space, it's actually pretty interesting. You actually decrease the space complexity. I was having a 2 for loop, right, and that will cost m times n. But for the space complexity, okay, so for time complexity, that would be all of the indices array, which is the length of the indices, right? And for the space complexity, it's m plus n, which is still the same as usual, and the time complexity reduced from m times n to all of the length of the indices, and this is pretty good, right? So I'm going to repeat again for this solution. Time complexity is the length of the indices, which is all of length of the indices, and I would say all of L, right? It doesn't matter, or all of I. Okay, if you understand. For the space complexity is m plus n. This is m plus n. All right, m plus n. And here's a solution, and I hope you understand. And this is pretty hard to understand, pretty hard to notice there is a solution for this. And I wish you luck. Bye.